We are here today to announce that the Justice Department has secured felony guilty pleas from the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, Binance.
Actually, it's Binance.
Binance.
Binance. Largest virtual.
Binance.
Binance. And let me be clear. It's Binance.
Binance.
Binance. Council has discussed crypto regulations and legislations at length, and we have come to the conclusion that instead of regulating, we are going to ape a fat bag each into laptop and pump it to over $1,300,000,000,000,000,000,000,000 market cap. Let's fucking go, crackheads.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Crypto Morning Coffee. I got my coffee locked and loaded, ready to go, because we have to talk about the market. We have officially arrived in Rectember. The Bitcoin price has been going down to 55,000 already, a little bit earlier today. And the question is, why? What happened? Why are we red at the moment? Why is the market crashing down? And are there more major warning signs to confirm that this might be a bigger trend? Let's look at the bigger picture together. Let's look at what happened. Let's look at what is going to happen throughout the rest of Rectember and then leading into October, right? So we're going to check this out, and also we are going to look at one or two things with Veve, so make sure to stay all the way through. So good morning to each and every one of you. I hope you are fine. It's time for a big sip of coffee first, and I see a couple of people here. Bodo is here, good morning. Trucking Hank is here, good morning to you as well. And Jasper Frank is also here, so welcome. And please, guys, do me the favor, smash up the like button, please. I have changed a little bit the time for the time being of the Crypto Morning Coffee, which I think the YouTube algorithm didn't really like. So make sure to smash up the like button for this. And then also the reason for this is that I have to travel. I have to be at work at different times and so on. And overall that is not good. Now let's do not lose too much time. This stream has to be a little bit shorter than usually. So usually we are going an hour or even past an hour, but today it's going to be way less. So let's jump right in. Let's do not lose time. Let's look at Bitcoin. So Bitcoin in only 1 day lost almost 7%. So it's getting really wrecked, right? So this is the hourly chart, but we can really see the big 7% drop. We're above this now, so we're not that much down anymore. But it has taken a bigger hit, but it's not the only one. So it's not only Bitcoin that has taken a bigger hit, it's the entire markets, entire financial markets in the world that have been taking a hit. So look at this, just over $1 trillion and probably more even then was wiped out from the US stock market today, with the biggest wipeouts at the big 7, obviously, leading by Nvidia. So Nvidia got completely wrecked by a 10% drawdown, and that also is the biggest drawdown in Nvidia's history and the biggest stock market drawdown in the entire history. So very crazy stuff that is happening, and the reason for this is this: the Bank of Japan. You remember we had this flash crash to 53k or something like that a while ago. And it was because the Bank of Japan had announced that they would start rate hiking. And now the Bank of Japan governor Ueda and so on reiterates that the BOJ will hike rates if outlook is realized. So this announcement again sends the market basically down. And we can see here also the reason why. So the Nikkei, and now it's already down 4%, but Nikkei 225 is down, and the US dollar to yen headed lower. Looks like we are about to find out how much of that yen carry trade is still out there. So you remember that all the bigger institutions, they panicked because they are having this yen carry trade in the Japanese market that relies on basically zero interest rate in Japan. So a strong dollar over the yen, and now the Japan is strengthening the yen, which brings these institutions that do this in severe trouble. Don't ask me exactly how this works. I'm not, let's say, a carry trade pro of or forex currency trading pro or something like that, right? But we need to know that it's out there, and that is the reason that when Japan hikes rates, that they panic, right? Japan has a lot to unwind still, let's put it that way. So also we see this at the same time we get the weak manufacturing data from the US economy, which basically hints at a US economic slowdown. So the ISM monthly survey of purchasing managers showed that just 47.2% reported an expansion in August, above the July reading but below the consensus forecast. So the most important thing is not the previous reading, it's the forecast for the next reading, and if you meet the forecast or not, because everyone is already preemptively pricing in what the forecast says. And if you beat expectation, then good. If you underperform, then bad. That's basically what's happening. So another weak economic reading also rises the probability that the Fed is going to cut interest rates in 2 weeks a little bit harder. So we see here that only a 25% basis cut now has less than 60% chance, while the 50 basis point cut has a 41% chance. This is a 6% increase on the side of the 50 basis point cut. We will see in a second what that could mean for us, but just going over this a little bit more. So some of the stock markets have closed, some of them are open. So we see this here, right? But most of them, and overall, they are in the red. So look at Asia, for example. The Asian markets, they are in the red. Pre-markets in the red. US in the red. How does euro? That's euro for. I don't. Yeah, this is Bitcoin. This is the US dollar. This is currency. Yeah, the European markets, they have not opened yet. So here you see German DAX. But overall, we see this here, the Nikkei and the TAIEX plunge. Here's the Nvidia news. So that's basically what is dominating the sentiment at the moment. It just packed in a couple of minutes, okay? So this led, I'm actually surprised that with all of this, that Bitcoin didn't dump back to the very low end where we were before. Let's look a little bit more at the daily chart. So the moment that the last time this was announced with the rate hikes in Japan, we actually hit 49,000. So this is this level. But right now, many lines, right? And also our crazy guy predictions, but we will see if they hold true. So we are here. We are 1 day ago from seeing if predictions are realized from some of our community, I would say. But what I am paying close attention is this falling channel, so to say, or this bull flag, if you want to call it the bull flag, and the bottom line on this. And I would say even if we have bad news, we should see how it reacts here at 53K. So I would see everything that is going to 53K, even flash crashes to lower, for example, to 52K, is reasonable, right? So, oh, by the way, now we're already at 15 people here, so make sure to smash up the like button, please. Please help me to get the stream out to a couple of more people. But if you zoom out already, it doesn't really look that bad, right? We have been here at the 4th of August. We have been at this level where we are right now at the 4th of July. Funnily, look at this. Look at this lineup. 4th of July, 4th of August, 4th of September. all 4th on the same level. And what is this? Unfortunately, it was not the 4th of April, so we can't make this out of it. But it's very close. But that is some funny coincidence, I would say. Yeah, nice. Okay, so anyway, I would expect that Bitcoin can easily, if markets today still don't like the news, can do another 4% to the downside easily in this pattern. And the more time it takes, obviously, the more room it has for this. Of course, we want that this pattern holds and that it then circles to the upside. But very important is that the broader markets play the game with us. And unfortunately, so this is the daily on the NASDAQ. By the way, this is funny because we have been looking at the NASDAQ quite a bit here in around January and even before, right? Look, for example, here, somewhere here, in July mid-23, and look what we drew in. I didn't move anything until the stream, right? We drew in this trend line, this with the flag. By the way, the pattern looks again like this. Looks like Bitcoin, right? Do you see this? This looks like what the NASDAQ there has looks a little bit like this, only that the NASDAQ already moved, right? So here, this, right? So on this NASDAQ, it worked out, right? It broke, it came down once more, right? So look at this. Let's look at just our flag. Oops. Sorry, I'm a trading view noob still after so long time. But here, look at this flag, right? So the NASDAQ comes and has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 moves in this whole flag, right? And if you look at Bitcoin, now it's the weekly, but we put it back in the daily. Okay. We have also this 1, 2 touches here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and now the question is which way do we go? Down, up, right? But I see some similarities in this pattern. I mean, you tell me, right? But you tell me what you see. But I would say we are somewhere here in the forming of this pattern. It's also slightly broadening as ours. And it then broke to the upside and went crazy. But one thing that I want to show you even more is if we look at on the weekly, our measured move of this was this. So that played out nicely, right? But this was from somewhere in July or something like that, like this trend line, this flagpole, right? Flagpole. Bam. Okay, if we do the same for Bitcoin, just and don't get me wrong, like it doesn't work the way that you say, oh, I draw this flagpole and I have the flag, so the flag has to break to the upside. It gets invalidated if it doesn't, but let's do it anyways. By the way, I think, yeah, that's correct. So the big question here is, if you draw this flagpole, do you start here or here, right? That is a big question, but I would go with this. And then you say assuming we break to the upside, confirmation earliest at 65K. The target is 100K. Not very unlikely, right? 100K, so this is the target because usually psychological barrier and so on, right? So for this move, it would be 100K. If you were to take like a time frame on the weekly and you would somehow, I wouldn't take this in because it just doesn't look too flaggy. If we take all this moves sideways before, you would reach higher price targets, but I would go with this. So the extension of this is 100K, which also means for me that probably 100K is where we get our next big pullback with the bull market now is over and so on. If we break to the upside, if we confirm, if we are not neglecting all the other warning signs, right? So if you are looking for this like supermassive hype channel that is not looking at the downside, you're wrong here, right? Omiprazole says, my altcoins, bro, I don't even want to look at my portfolio. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks really bad, right? But I mean, many lines here, it's crazy. But we need them all, unfortunately, at the moment to see what's going on. But this is the NASDAQ. And now the big problem with the NASDAQ at the moment, let's look at the downside as well. The big problem is that if we are looking here, we are on the 6th day at the moment, right? Even if we're looking, for example, on the weekly. This is a lower high, and it's after our predicted move. It is after a wave move, right? So are we going to see a bigger, deeper crash correction here in the NASDAQ, in the other financial markets? I mean, even if you look, the stochastic RSI of the NASDAQ just hit a bearish cross within the blue zone, right? Here was a bull cross, it came into the zone, but now it's crossing bearish, right? So not good for the NASDAQ, obviously. So we will see what's going on. I would say what could be happening is at least, like for the NASDAQ, for example, at least to revisit this zone, which for the NASDAQ would be another 3% move, which is, I mean, it looks like nothing because we are crypto degens, but in stocks, these moves are pretty bad, right? And then the next level is this one, right? So you can say this one is one support, and this is the next support, right? Somewhere here. Yeah. Okay. So and that, I mean, this, not to neglect this drawdown in the NASDAQ of 37% that we had before, right? In November 21 until December 22, right? This is how a crash looks, or a big correction in the NASDAQ looks, not this, right? So that it could be way worse, right? And look at this one here, for example. This is the C19, and then this is the money printer, right? And the here's, by the way, here's rate cuts, right? In this, so we could get some bigger drawdown here before we actually move. So we need to keep this in mind. And also, talking about the rates, we have just talked about the rates. The rate cuts will come. This is not a discussion anymore, right? The rate cut will come in about 14 days. So now the problem with this is, we have talked about it many times with the rate cuts. We're those 14 days away. Using that same time frame, I overlaid, so this guy, the following past rate cut cycles, 81, 90, 2000, and 2007. These 4 cutting cycles matched the same data that we're seeing currently. Unemployment rate curving up, 10-year, 2-year inversion. These are the bond, the yields. The sentiment from the bulls is that rate cuts are suitable for the market. This is true in the long run. History shows that the market pumps on average for 25 days after rate cuts, followed by an average of 30 months sell-off. Could we get one last pump around the cuts? Will this time be different? And look at this. So here's the overlay of all of these cycles on the S&P 500. And it shows the one last pump here, right, over a period of months. So this could already be, so to say, something for Bitcoin to coil up, right, to make the 100K move. It can still happen on this, right, but then afterwards, like if that happens. So yeah, there are two there are two options. We dump directly and then we go, or we pump on this and then we fall into a huge crash. So 50% out of S&P would be an 80% drawdown for Bitcoin or something like that, right? So if we would mimic this would be a huge, this is a huge warning sign, right? So and on this, I have to even say, hey, guys like health wealth gurus that are bragging and claiming stuff on my channel, they looking at this, they have a point, but they can you cannot know for sure, right? So let's look at just to reassure ourselves. Let's look at the Fed. Fund rates, the Fed fund rates indicator here as well, and get rid of the others quickly. So this is where we are. Basically, the rate hike has been so the problem with this is, if you look at, and let's get rid of the lines and let's only look at price action. So we only have really this cut, right? We only have this rate cut really in the data for Bitcoin, and it led to a big drawdown during a bull run also, right? It was already bull run and it led to a 70% crash. We are only at a 27 to 30% crash. But also, if we look at hikes, for example, hiking, apparently rate hikes doesn't really affect the price. Look at this. Here's rate hikes. It's like you have rate hikes in the bull, you have rate hikes in the bear. I mean, what caused what, right? But then you have the cuts and you have this. But the cuts you have because of financial reasons. So the question is, do the cut in itself really affect us, right? For example, here we have the rate hikes, and we crash, right? The rate hikes are happening and crashing. So why shouldn't you say for Bitcoin, the inverse is also true? You cut and usually you should be pumping. But just looking at this cutting, at this hiking and then cutting cycle, it doesn't really tell us anything, because the top for Bitcoin came in when the hiking was at a certain stage, and then there was more hiking into the bear market, and then they held, and then they started cutting here this bull. So this bull could also be fueled by, hey, maybe they are cutting, they cut, it crashed down. So you can't just sit there and say, there's a clear pattern of rate cuts and rate hikes and what is happening to the Bitcoin price, right? I mean, you can say though, you can say Bitcoin has a huge correlation to especially tech stocks and the S&P 500, and that is why most rate cuts are bearish for the S&P 500, equals bearish behavior for the S&P. The problem with this is that these years are cherry-picked on the same unemployment and the same yield curve inversion, on these same factors. But there are other rate cuts and reasons and so on where these specific factors are not happening, that are not put in here, also because they're probably not looking the same, right? So the big question now is, it remains open, and the biggest question that we have is, what's the strategy, right? I would say, if you look at this Bitcoin price action here, I would say the strategy is we can't really know what's going on, so we can also not take action. Since I have a long-term horizon and I'm hodling, I don't care if, like, what does it mean? I don't care. I really don't want to have us crashing down and ending this first run like we did here. But it could happen, right? Crash, like black swanish styles. So the Japan carry trade has the potential of a black swan. This carry trade situation has the potential to send us 30-40% down, to load up somewhere again and then make the big rise. But what happens if we do this style and we really go for like a year or 1.5 years into this negative zone, also together with crypto, right? Will the projects that we're in survive this? We will see. We have no choice. We have no other choice. But I think my personal strategy would be get some dry powder ready in case this happens and you suddenly can buy Bitcoin at 30K again. Which according to power of law would not happen. But we will see. Yo, Green Lantern, good morning, fam. Still in the gym. Historically, it dumps hard before parabolic. Says on Brazil, what price would we have to hit for you to consider that the bull market is over? Monka is Monka, yeah. Yes. What happens is, so what would we happen? What would we have to happen? So first of all, looking at the power of law that we always have ready here. Let's refresh quickly, although I think it's refreshed. But let's hit the refresh one more time. There you go. So the power of law says 34K is the absolute minimum for power of law to be valid, right? At this point in time where we are, the upside of power of law is 344K. That is the absolute upside to hit. I would say, according to power of law, we are still in a bear market. Look at the green line where we are. Only the parabolic move brings us into the real bull, right? So that's basically what I would say. I feel a little bit reminded of this again before this crash. You see we come crashing down to the lows. I would say the price that we could reach on a crash is somewhere between 30. Yeah, it's actually it's so small. We kind of have to zoom in a little bit. How can I don't want this. I want to zoom into this. There you go. So yeah, so basically a straight line downwards. I would say 32K or something like that, right? So if we have a flash crash, 32K is the lowest, and that we could reach. And for me to say the bull market is over actually depends a little bit on, for example, the TSI, right? On the monthly. And then also there's something to show to you. Here we see is also a little bit better, by the way, with the rate hike, right? With the rate hike and cut. So here's the cut and the drawdown, right? So the TSI is the one here below. If we cross bearishly, I would say the bull market is over, but only if we confirm this cross. So you see here, you can come very close to crossing, but you actually don't cross. I could see that we have a situation like this, where we almost cross, something like that, right? For an extensive period of time. And that could be one thing. The other thing is, so you remember that I told you here on this channel when we crossed the stochastic RSI that this was a bad sign, right? So we are in the middle of this move. There could be 2 months of this move left or more, right? we're in the middle of this move. It's absolutely confirmed that we are in a bearish momentum at the moment, and it would accelerate. And in the worst case, it does accelerate into this outside this blue zone to the other side, and that would be, in every case when this happened, it is a bear market basically. The only case that we crossed ever bearishly on this, let me extend this a little bit more so we see more. The only thing that we ever had this, and it was not a true big bear market, was here exactly at the situation that I described, right? So what we could see is something like this, right? Where the price turns around mid and then we finish our bull market, right? But everything can happen, and ultimately the charts, they tell us a story. Many indicators are lagging, so they tell us a story about momentum, about sentiment, but ultimately if a black swan hits, no indicator predicts your black swan. Nothing indicates the black swan, right? So you can have this straight line down to 32k or something like that, right? 31, 32k. And yes, that would be some time where I would say, okay, that's where I need to buy something more, right? But overall, I mean, if we would turn around, go into a steep bear market that lasts a year or so, this would redesign the entire cycle game. And also keep in mind, and I will say this as last words here because I have to go, but keep in mind, hey Mr. V, what is going on? Good to see you. But keep in mind that global liquidity is already expanding. And keep in mind that the only clear pattern that exists throughout the entire existence of Bitcoin, of up and down, is not rate cuts, is not policies, is not trends in certain indicators and so on. It's global liquidity. It's the only thing. And global liquidity is already expanding. It's already expanding. The only thing is that the fourth largest economy, Japan, is not expanding their liquidity. They are rate hiking. They're strengthening the yen, weakening the dollar. But in a couple of months, the US has to service the debt. They have to service the interest rates. They have to service, as China already does, they have to add trillions and trillions of freshly printed dollars to the global economy. And the same goes for the ECB, for the European Central Bank, ECB. As well as for many other banks like Canada and so on. Once Powell starts cutting rate, they will also do it, and there will be massive stimuli coming into the economy. So it's only a question of time, in my opinion, until the global liquidity expansion drives this price forward, propels it upward. Can we see a crash in between until this effect takes place? I think it is possible. But I'm not a crash prophet like some other people that are talking about the crash since, since here in 2020, about this mega crash. So, yeah, that is. Let me know in the chat what you think. Let me know in the comments what you think. So make sure to smash up the like, 20 people here, subscribe to the channel with notifications on. Unfortunately, today is a short stream. I didn't get to the Vivi stuff. So we saved this for the next stream, probably next stream only on Friday, because tomorrow I have to travel the whole day. I'm going to Switzerland for a day. But on Friday, we hopefully are back with the next nice Crypto Morning Coffee live stream. So I'm looking forward to see you all there. Bring back the crash profit. Yeah, we have the crash profit marked. We have the crash profit marked already. So we will see. According to the crash profit, guys, we are going to crash tomorrow, because he has said like 10 times, remember the 5th of September. So the crash profit says tomorrow is the day. We will see. Unfortunately, I cannot stream tomorrow, which is really bad because I want to see how this day develops. But on Friday, we can reassess the 5th of September. Yeah, Troy Perez says, nice, eat good chocolate. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully, but it's business driven, so we will see how much chocolate is happening there. And then we will see each other on Friday. So wherever you are on the world, have yourselves a great morning, evening, day, night, or afternoon. I see you in the next live stream.